folks, getting ready to launch the Seagull Fish Skiff 16 with my son Sawyer. We're going to do a little bit of a river cleanup. So last time we were here, we pulled out
a couple tires and like 2 bags worth of trash.
So we have certainly more carrying capacity in this rig. We can go very shallow with it, and we'll zoom around. I think we're going to be on the oars a lot because it's super shallow.
Yeah.
But we're going to do a little bit of fishing, but mostly we're going to fish some tires and stuff out of the river. So, You ready?
Yep.
All right. So it didn't take as long to find the first tire. See if we can. It's a good year. Get it on there.
I like my sunglasses.
It's almost like sight fishing for smallmouth out here, looking in the shallow water, except we're looking for these things instead of fish. What do you see?
Something sticking out. I don't know what it is. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Okay, let's slow down.
Last
there's a
time
tire right there.
Is there?
Yeah, it's actually sticking out of the ground a little bit.
Oh, yeah, there. All right, let's get that one. That's a big one. That's a truck tire. There's all the grass is sort of like grown around where it was. This. Oh, yeah, you can keep your mud. Let's wash this thing out. I guess people dump these things because it costs money to recycle them.
Like, I don't think you can just put them in your like standard curbside garbage.
How long were you saying that it takes for one of these things to degrade?
In a landfill, it takes up to 1,000 years for them to degrade, but in a river, it will degrade into microplastics, which fish eat and poison them and kill them.
Yeah, and then we eat the fish, and don't we end up with microplastics in our bodies?
Yeah, every week the average person consumes about a credit card worth of plastic.
Ew.
So you might be wondering why picking up garbage in marine waterways is important. The answer is because it goes out into the ocean and causes microplastics, which is a very big problem to sea creatures. There are currently around 5 massive trash islands in the entire world. The most notable one is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is about twice the size of Texas or 3 times the size of the entire country of France. Most of the plastic there, though, is in plastic water bottles and plastic bags. It is what was plastic bags at one point. It is what happens when a piece of plastic goes out into the ocean and is constantly beat up, and it is turned into microplastics. So they are invisible to the naked eye, but they cause big damage.
So you're talking about fish and critters that are pretty distant from here. They're out in the ocean. I mean, I know this Susquehanna River flows into the Chesapeake Bay, that flows into the Atlantic. I think we have more local issues. I know that in our mid-Atlantic rivers, we have a lot of issues with the smallmouth bass. Specifically, they're having things like they're developing eggs in their testes for the male fish, and there's other reproduction issues. And they cite, when they study what's wrong with the fish, they cite compounds called endocrine disruptors. And endocrine disruptors can be all sorts of things, but plastic,
yes, that's
definitely one of them.
Yeah, plastic causes a lot of problems even to local fish. If a plastic water bottle Plastic does not biodegrade, it photodegrades, which means it breaks up into little pieces. If a plastic water bottle photodegrades and a smallmouth bass or any type of fish eats it, that can be a death sentence for that fish and potentially that species if enough plastic is consumed by those species. So it can cause things like reproductive issues, it can cause essentially starvation. They starve to death, as I previously mentioned.
But there's a lot of other things going on, and honestly, there's way more that we don't know than what we do know. And I don't know, we got to do a better job policing our own garbage.
Yeah, it's important to note that plastic hasn't been mass produced for most of history. It only started around 1950, so that only gives us about 70 years to study it, and we still don't know the true effects of plastic. Like, it could be a lot worse than we know, and it could cause a lot more issues than we are aware of.
This is a deeper area that I think when they get inactive, they'll hunker down in these ledge trenches here. What's the deepest you saw when we came through there?
Probably 5 feet-ish.
Yeah. Which, as low as the river is a really deep spot.
Like, I could stand up in it, but like, it would.
I bet you that's 6 feet right there.
Oh, actually, yeah. Probably. I don't think I would be able to stand up in that.
Really deep on our left. Like what we're drifting into. They like deep spots both in winter and in summer. You know, if they're not actively feeding, they go to these deep trenches. You got one?
Yeah, I got one.
I've seen him jump twice.
Yeah, I cast.
You want to get that net ready? I gotta keep him away from me because you got treble hooks.
Okay.
Nice work. Okay, lift him up. My way. Good job, man.
This is an 18-inch smallmouth bass that I caught in current using a crankbait lure. Hey, can I use the motor?
Do you want to drive it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we're in a deep enough area here. After I get my snag, we'll switch, and I'll let you run it.
Alrighty.
The fastest I got when I had it on Marburg by myself was a touch 10.3, but it was consistently getting 10.2.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it scoots. It's a 8 horsepower Torpedo Cruise 4.0.
So what you're telling me is we could just have taped 8 horses to the front of our boat?
I don't know exactly how that works, but it's an energy. It's a measure of energy somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how they choose to measure horses. Like how fast is a horse?
A horse is pretty strong. You know, I think probably it started with tractor use, and it was doing the work that they used to do with tractors or with horses, and then they switched to doing it with tractors. Go fast. I don't hear anything. Oh, all the way. Push it all the way. Let it rip. Turn left.
There's something there. I don't know why, but it's something. It just looks weird.
I think today most of how we're using it is just as a trolling motor.
Yeah.
Just scooting along slow.
I'm gonna go left, right?
Because if you come ripping into an area, the fish really feel that wake. I mean, look at the wake that we created.
Yeah.
Those fish know what that is. So, You want to head over on that bank, see if we can find some more trash to pick up?
Alrighty. I think now we have like a car worth of tires.
We do.
They're all different sizes.
Now
but
we need a spare and 2 more for the trailer, right? So, in this log jam, we got more stuff in this 10-foot radius that I could fill 3 bags with. You know, this is just where the river puts it all. High water event, all the wood ends up here, all the garbage ends up here too. So we'll get what we can out and float it down to our vehicle. A lot of stuff here in one spot. So one word of caution when you're doing this stuff, you gotta watch out for tetanus. I have been out here and stepped on 2 nails, went all the way through the river boot and had to run out and get a tetanus shot. It hurt. The other thing is it's so easy to fall through that stuff. You know, stuff that looks solid, you put your foot on, you gotta just tread lightly. As soon as you put your foot on that may bust through there. So, you doing all right, Sawyer?
Not really, it's hot.
Yeah? You wanna go swimming when we're done?
Yeah.
All right, Sawyer, how are we gonna get all this in there?
Maybe make 2 trips. Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna get this in. Like, for example, like, yeah, that doesn't seem secure.
Do it in the tire next to it. Whatever, I think we just need to start putting stuff on and just remember that I need to be able to get to the oars.
Yeah, you need to be able to paddle.
Right? Because, you know, I also still have like 2 bags way down there that I didn't drag up here, so.
If we lived in a state with a bottle deposit, we probably could get like $50 for all the trash we picked up.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's mostly
water bottles.
Yeah, it's mostly water bottles. This is what I think is the most interesting, is this is part of a milk
container
carton, and just push on that, man. That right there, like cracking like an eggshell, because in the sun it got
weaker.
Yeah, I guess that's
the polymers broke apart.
Yeah, that's our microplastics.
Yeah. Except that will likely turn into thousands of even smaller pieces.
Yeah. And what's in here is billions of pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's load it up, man. So, no room for us. You want to wade?
Yeah, probably. That's
We're
probably.
You know what? Okay. You know what I thought of?
What?
Jumping up in that. Just jumping up in all those sticks. You know what it reminded me of?
What?
Jenga.
It does. Like.
It's Jenga jumping.
Everything is like balanced.
We're pulling junk out of Jenga.
It's a very.
And if you step in the wrong place, the whole thing tumbles.
You hurt your leg really bad.
All right, let's start wading. We got half a mile. I'll pull it out, buddy.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pull it out.
Before we go, time to cool off?
Yeah. Yeah, cut that part out.
Why?
Okay, Mr. Fit. Seriously, look at my poor flip-flop. I got like squished. It's like,
you know what this is?
bent and stuff.
I learned this from my buddy Mike Naylor. Wild celery. This is really good habitat for all the little fish. When they're getting big their first year, the young of the year smallmouth like this stuff. All the other minnows and stuff that eat it, or that they eat, love this long stringy grass called wild celery. We saw it all over the sassafras.
Yeah, there's a lot here too. My flipping shoe, where'd it go? Here. At least flip-flops float, because if they didn't, I would have lost them.
Well, clearly they float. I mean, I think I pulled at least 6 of them out of the wood.
Yeah, that's really
And
sad.
probably like 3 or 4 other shoes.
Thing is, that's not even like the worst. Probably not even on this river.
It's a lot of them. I tell you what it is. The places where you have log jams like that are the same places where the smallmouth hang out when the river floods. All that junk collects in there, the same as all the smallmouth, because that's an area where there's current that just gets stopped there, and that's where they can step out of the way of the river and let it kind of swirl past them. So,
What probably happened is at some point, like one log got stuck, and then they just keep piling on each other.
yeah. But I know, for instance, that in flood conditions, I fished this bank here and just caught fish one after the other.
What is that? Was it up to the houses?
It was on the bank. See those rocks up there? It kind of started there, and it went all the way down past where the creek mouth is, especially on the backside of the creek mouth where there's a lot of this jumble. This jumble stops a lot of current, and all those fish, when this is like, I don't know.
5 feet higher? 10 feet?
No, 15.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine 15 feet more?
Seems scary.
I mean, it's up into the basements of those houses.
Yeah, it looks like that house they're building. Like, the bottom half looks like it's just, like, storage. Like, it looks like they're building the house
Yeah, it's on stilts.
above everything.
So nothing on the bottom is finished.
Which is a smart idea. Like, that's a pretty good way to...
Which the other option is just, you can park your van right there and live in that.
What do you mean? What van? I don't get what you're saying.
Different generation. Alright, cleared enough. And I gotta, Yakatan parking place to try and line up. Getting this through. This is going to be interesting. Alright, I think I got it lined up.
Well, the problem is we have to do this about 4 more times.
I don't know. Okay.
Yay!
We about lost our front tire.
Let's try to avoid that. We're going to talk about plastics. Most of the plastics we found were #1 plastic PET bottles. These are the type of bottles used for soda and water bottles. They're also used in things like salad bowls. And there are some benefits of these types of bottles. They are very, very recyclable. So if you put one in a recycling bin, it's pretty much, if you do it correctly, it's pretty much guaranteed to be recycled. But another problem with them is that they are so pervasive, they are everywhere. You can find millions of these in oceans and rivers all around the world. And this bottle will not stay intact for very long, though, if you left it in the water. It would eventually start degrading into smaller pieces, as we previously showed you, and this will turn to microplastics, because this single bottle could likely turn into millions of microplastics in the ocean. And as you can see, we have lots of bottles. And there are a couple other types of plastic. This is styrofoam, or sometimes known as #6 plastic. A big problem with this is that it's toxic to produce. It can potentially be toxic to human beings, and it is virtually impossible to recycle due to the fact it is a low density plastic. Like if you squish it, you can easily squish it, and there's just no value in recycling this. And as you can tell, it also will break up a lot easier than something like a plastic water bottle.